What is going on, NFL fans, and welcome back to another episode of the NFL Whip Round. I am Jeff Hartman, joined by Coach Kevin Smith. Coach, what's up?
What's up, Jeff? How are you, man? We're actually, what are we, a month away from the draft, Jeff?
Yeah, I think it's 30 days, maybe a little bit less
Yeah,
than that now. It's crazy.
I know, man. The offseason moves fast.
It always does. The NFL never misses a beat in terms of knowing how to keep your attention just long enough. So as free agency starts to die down, the draft comes. And then when the draft goes away and you're starting to, it's going to be a while, not the schedule's released. So they know what they're doing. And to one aspect of what we're going to talk about today, the NFL soap opera continues. I think that it's like a giant soap opera, if I'm being honest, whether you talk about players being arrested, players that might be quitting, players that might be retiring, going to new locations. It is an ongoing soap opera. And one of the soap operas, we'll get to Aaron Rodgers. I know that everyone's probably thinking Jeff's queuing up Aaron Rodgers. No, I'm talking about proposed rule changes. It was interesting. A lot of teams submit these every single year. These are playing rules proposals. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they had a proposal for the offseason on what teams can and can't do prior to the tampering period. We're not getting there today. Let's talk about the playing rules proposal. And let's start off the Detroit Lions. All right. They proposed, this is amending Rule 8, Section 4, to eliminate an automatic first down as a penalty imposed for defensive holding and illegal contact. Now, Coach, you're a coach, and I wanted to bring this up because I wanted to get your thoughts on this. What's your take on that potentially changing no automatic first down for defensive holding and illegal contact?
Well, I love it. I hate that I hate that penalty. So my least favorite penalty in all of football is the automatic first down for illegal contact, because it's 3rd and 9. The defense has done a good job of putting themselves in a position to be successful. And then on 3rd down, they get the blitz that they want and the look that they want. They drop the quarterback for a sack. And then you hear the announcer go, "Oh, there's a flag down in the secondary." And then they replay the video. And the wide receiver is 6 yards past the line of scrimmage, and the defensive back has touched him in the shoulder pad. And that is a automatic first down. That is the dumbest, most egregious penalty that exists in football. So I am all in on changing that rule.
What would you have it be then? So if are you just eliminating the automatic first down? It's just a 5-yard penalty.
5-yard penalty. And I mean, okay, let's say you want to make an argument that it needs to be a 10-yard penalty, which in many instances will turn it into a first down. Okay, maybe I'll listen to that, because you could say, well, now on 3rd and 9. Defenses are just going to jam the crap out of the wide receivers, and if they get called for it, so be it. So, okay, you want to make it a 10-yard penalty? Fine, I guess I can live with that. But it just feels like the the punishment doesn't fit the crime. It just didn't feel like it was equal in that regard.
Yeah, so that wasn't on the docket, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that because that was proposed by the Detroit Lions. We'll see what the competition committee thinks about that. I don't see that changing. Do you?
It's an offensive league, man. Everybody wants the points on the board.
Exactly. And so, speaking of the offensive league, one of the plays that we wanted to touch on is that the Green Bay Packers, and they made headlines for this, they want to basically eliminate the tush push. They don't like it. And here's what it says: amending Rule 12, Section 1 to prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate who was lined up directly behind the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. So this isn't what I talked about on other podcasts about potentially just saying an offensive player can't push another player with the ball. That's not what they're saying. They're saying that if you take the snap, no one is allowed to push you directly behind that person. Coach, what do you think about this Green Bay Packers in proposal to eliminate the tush push?
2 thoughts. One, like, there's a gut instinct that goes like, shut up and stop it, right? Shut up and figure out how to stop it. Because every NFL team could do it, but very few have the success the Eagles have with it. The Eagles have found a way to perfect that play in a way that other teams have not. You and I are Steelers fans. We've seen the crappy knockoff version that the Steelers have tried to run. I mean, they got stopped on many quarterback sneaks, not being able to convert it. So that there's a gut instinct that says, we'll be better on defense. And don't punish Philadelphia for getting really, really good at a certain play. But the other part of me does look at what they're doing And it leads me to wonder if it really is within the spirit of the game of football. It feels more like a rugby thing. And that the spirit of football isn't one where you just try to use brute force from behind to inch a guy forward. That certainly doesn't fit with the way that the game has opened up. So I get it. I get to a degree the argument about this doesn't fit the spirit of the game.
I don't know. I agree with you. I'm torn, but has anyone been able to stop it? I mean, look at the Washington Commanders. They were basically just jumping off sides on purpose until they came out and said, if you do it again, we're going to give them a touchdown, which I didn't even
Which
think
I've never seen either. I've never seen that ever at any level.
You do it again, we're going to give them a touchdown.
That's a great. Jeff, can I tell you a quick story? I know it's off topic. I got to tell you a quick story. My first year as a coach, I'm 22 years old. I'm coaching a JV game in Atlantic City on a miserable day. It's about 40 degrees with about a 40-mile-an-hour wind, and they are annihilating us. We're losing like 34-0, and they're physically assaulting us. I'm getting kids taken off right and left. There's like 5 minutes left in the game, and we somehow have the ball down around their 20-yard line. Our quarterback goes back to pass, and he scrambles around, and he throws this duck up into the end zone. And they basically tackle our receiver in the end zone. The flags go up. The refs come together. The official goes, pass interference in the end zone. That's a touchdown, and the game is over. That was it. It's the greatest call of all time. And me and the Atlantic City coach just gave each other a high five. Like, all right, buddy. So,
hey, stranger things have happened. There you go.
Exactly.
I guess my question is, let's say Philadelphia got so good at this that they could average 3 to 4 yards a carry doing the tush push. They could potentially just go right down the field and never do another play. I don't think that's what you want football to look like. No. I don't think you want it to look like a rugby scrum, which is sometimes what it looks like. I still think that if they were to go back to a rule that was even in college football, I think until almost 2005, which was if a ball carrier has the football, you cannot push them forward as a teammate. They can use their own momentum. They can churn their legs, but you can't push them forward. If they were to just go back to that rule, then the tush push would just turn into a quarterback sneak, which you can still do. You can still do a quarterback sneak. This just feels way too specific. Do you think the NFL is actually going to even entertain banning this play?
I can see them making an amendment like you just suggested, where you can't physically push the guy. And that would keep the integrity of the quarterback sneak intact. So I can see that happening, but I don't know if I can see banning the play.
I mean, it's such an offensive league. You just talked about with the illegal contact thing. Like, give the defense, throw them a bone. Like, give them something. Like, give them something that they can say, finally, they're at least sticking up for us. I mean, think about the calls on the quarterback. You can't hit him below the knees. You can't hit him above the shoulders. You can't hit him this, that, and the other. Like, give them something, because right now I'm sure it feels like it's just, man, they just can't get anything going. So we'll see what they do there. But the one I'm most curious about, this is actually a club bylaw proposal. This was by the Detroit Lions, and this amends Article 20, Section 20.2 of the Constitution and bylaws to amend the current playoff seeding format to allow wildcard teams to be seeded higher than division champions if the wildcard team has a better regular season record. So in other words, we're talking about reseeding the entire playoff field based on record. It doesn't matter if you win your division. Now, we had this debate on the Steelers preview podcast. Brian Davis and I were on total different ends of the spectrum. He said, no, division titles have to matter. And I said, but what if you win a crappy NFC South and there's a team like Minnesota who had 14 wins? That doesn't add up to me. Where do you stand on this, Coach?
I like the idea of reseeding. I do. The 14-3 Minnesota Vikings that had to go on the road in their playoff opener this past year to a really difficult game out in LA to play a really good Rams team. And you think about it, man, had they won their last game against Detroit, they would have been the number 1 seed with a bye. But they lose that game. They wind up 14-3 instead of 15-2. And now they have to go out to LA to play a really good Rams team, which they ultimately lost. It just doesn't feel as though that justifies the regular season that you've had. If the regular season's going to really matter, then you have to create some sort of incentive for doing well beyond just winning the division title. So we've had years where teams have won the division title with a losing record and gotten a home playoff game. I mean, that to me can't happen. So I don't have any real. If they did this, I would certainly not be like, this is an outrage.
Do you think that it would cheapen a division crown then? Like I guess, Brian's, again, I'm bringing Brian Davis here. His argument on our podcast was you're going to have less meaningful games down the stretch. I countered that with, if you look at last season, Philadelphia was able to rest their players before the playoffs because they had locked up their seed already. But if they were reseeding, Minnesota was playing Detroit. They couldn't have rested their players because if they reseeded after the regular season ended and Philadelphia would have lost the game, or let's say Minnesota won, they would not have had the same seeding that they would have if it didn't matter. So I think that would have been a game where it would have meant something, and Saquon Barkley would have played, and Jalen Hurts would have played. Do you think it would cheapen a division crown?
Well, it wouldn't cheapen it for those teams that win their division without strong records. We've seen teams in the NFC South get into the playoffs because they're 9-8 and they won the division. That still matters. You might not get in otherwise at 9. The Seahawks were 10-7 this year, didn't get in. So I don't. It's still going to matter because it's going to get you into the playoffs, and that might not be the case if you just went by straight records and threw out division titles as being automatic qualifiers.
So you're saying that the counter to Brian's debate is you're going to guaranteed a spot in the dance. You just might not get a home game. I could be on board with that. On board with that.
Yeah.
So I also don't think the NFL is going to change it. Do you?
The NFL doesn't make change easily. It usually requires some sort of public outrage or a lawsuit, so.
I agree. Okay. Let's keep all that stuff aside. We're going to continue with the soap opera theme here of the podcast. And as the world turns into where in the world is Carmen Sandiego with Aaron Rodgers. He was in Pittsburgh last week, still has not signed. Everyone's debating what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. What do you think about the latest news in that saga?
I don't know what to think, to be quite honest with you. I mean, the Jets football season ended the first weekend of January. It's been 2.5 months. So he's got to know if he wants to play or not. He knows what his options are. He knows where his potential landing spots will be. How much more time does he need to decide if he wants to play? So I don't think it's that. It's got to be some sort of either leverage thing or the parameters of a deal with the Steelers are in place from what we understand. So he kind of knows what's on the table in Pittsburgh. Is he trying to hold out for Minnesota? They said that they're going to move on. Is he trying to drum up interest from another suitor potentially? Like, I don't know. I can't get a good read on this. But then again, that's Aaron Rodgers.
Well, my question is, and it's added on to what you just said, why go to Pittsburgh? Like, why actually go physically to the Pittsburgh headquarters, their operations, to meet with Mike Tomlin, Arthur Smith, and Omar Khan, the general manager? What's the purpose of that visit? You're not talking about, according to what we know and the reports out there, you're not talking about contract. That's supposedly done. So what are they doing, Coach? Are they talking X's and O's? I don't get it.
Yes. Otherwise, are you touring the facility? I mean, that's a possibility that you're trying to get a feel for, what's the physical plant look like. But come on, man, if you're Aaron Rodgers at this point in your career, are you going to rest your decision as to whether or not to play another year on whether or not you like the Steelers locker room? Like, that feels so juvenile. It might not be great, and we've heard that that the Steelers facility gets rated down compared to the other NFL teams. But if that's the deciding factor, then your heart's not in playing in the first place. Oh, I don't know if I want to play or not, but they got a great locker room, so I'll go through another NFL season. That makes no sense to me.
Or I'm on the fence, but their locker room sucks, so I think I'm just going to retire.
Yeah,
I don't. That's what I don't get. So, like, you meet with Mike Tomlin, the longest tenured coach in the NFL right now. Everyone knows Mike Tomlin, what he's about, what he stands for. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers, he's spoken so eloquently about Tomlin throughout his career whenever the Packers and or the Jets would play the Steelers. Like, what is there to talk about? And that's what I don't understand. And like you said, what is the posturing for? Is the posturing for is it for more money? Does he really need more money? He hasn't gone to visit the Giants, the other team that wants him, the New York Giants. He hasn't gone to MetLife, and some might say, well, he knows what that's like. That was his facility with the Jets for 2 years. I don't know. It doesn't add up. I still do think he's the quarterback of the Steelers at the end of the day. Do you agree?
I mean, Mike Florio wrote an article for, I guess it's Pro Football Talk or whatever he writes for, where he said he's going to be the Steelers quarterback, and they just haven't worked out the details yet. Now, put whatever stock you want into that. But it feels like, if I had to venture a guess as to what that meeting was about, to me, it was here are the expectations. If I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm going to basically say, look, man, we want you on board. He's going to flatter Aaron Rodgers, et cetera, et cetera. But he's also going to say, our expectations are that you will show up, that you will practice hard, that you will not, we'll give you the Veterans Day off every once in a while like we gave Roethlisberger or we do to anybody. But if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm laying out, if you're coming on board here, this is what I expect of you. And if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm saying, here are some of the things I want in the offense here, or some of the things that I'm very comfortable doing and I want included in the package. I mean, I feel like that's a fair negotiation at this point.
What do you think that would look like? Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers led offense in Pittsburgh. I mean, Arthur Smith is a hard-headed guy from all reports. He's a good guy. He's a coach. He's a football coach. Football coaches tend to be, they believe in their system. Aaron Rodgers believes in his system. How do you think that marriage would look like?
I see Aaron Rodgers right now a little bit like I saw Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee when Arthur Smith had him. Rodgers can actually still move around a little bit. Like, if you watched his film with the Jets, he wasn't just like this. Like think back to Ben Roethlisberger's final season. He had lost his mobility, and he was just a big dude standing in the pocket. I mean, that's not Aaron Rodgers. He can still move a little bit. So the boot game and the pocket movement and some of that stuff, I mean, hey, look, it's not going to be Lamar Jackson, obviously, but you can still commit to those things. And we know that Arthur Smith likes that stuff in the offense. So I think that you could find a sort of meet in the middle between what Rodgers likes to do, what Smith likes to do. If you're Arthur Smith, you got to give a little bit, because what are your alternatives? Your alternatives are play Mason Rudolph.
Right.
And I don't think the Steelers really want to go down that road.
No, I don't either. And I think Aaron Rodgers can still spin it. You've watched more film than I have. You agree?
Yeah. He suffers from a little bit of the hubris that a lot of guys who were once great and maybe are a little bit past their prime suffer from, in that he still thinks that he can make certain throws that he can't really make anymore. But he can still do the 9-to-5 stuff.
Yeah. It gives the Steelers the best chance to be relevant in 2025. I'll put it that way. Now, the rumors 100%. Are it's a 1-year deal on the table. I'm all in on that, right, Coach?
All in. 100%. Don't give him multiple years, man.
All right, let's take a look at free agency. We're a couple weeks into this thing, and there's some big name players that still remain on the open market. I want to get your take on a couple of these players. So I'm looking at ESPN's top 100 free agent list, and these are players that still remain on the open market. Now, by the time this is heard, maybe they've been signed, but the receiver is a big name, right? It's a big position group. Stephon Diggs and Amari Cooper are both still out there. What are your thoughts on them? Stephon Diggs coming off of the ACL. He brings his own baggage. He's going to be 31, same age as Amari Cooper, who didn't have a horrible season, was kind of injury plagued from time to time, finished up in Buffalo. Coach, what do you think about those two pass catchers?
It's funny, man. You look at these veteran receivers, and history says that for a lot of these guys, you hit 30 and the production drops significantly. And that's been true of a lot of guys over the years. And you look at Amari Cooper, he had like 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons or 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons in Dallas and Cleveland. And I know last year he went back and forth between Cleveland and Buffalo, probably never found his fit, but his production dropped significantly last season. And then Diggs, with the injury history, his game was built on quickness because he's not a real big guy. His game was built on being able to get in and out of breaks fast and out quick defenses. So if he's lost that step, and if Cooper now can't sort of refine a good fit, then these guys are no more than role players at this point in their career. kind of like Cooper Kupp, So it'll be very interesting to see what kind of contracts they get, because if they still want to be paid like number ones, they're just not that anymore.
No, and then you look at other wide receivers that are also out on the market. Keenan Allen, who's 33, he'll be 33 entering 2025. He's still on the open market. Our buddy Deontay Johnson, he's 29, but he's still on the open market. And you even go to Tyler Lockett, who I didn't realize he's 32 years old entering 2025. He too is on the open market. I don't think any of these guys sign till post-draft. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree, because you think back to like a guy like Patrick Peterson a couple years ago who didn't get signed until later on in the process. One of the benefits of that for some of these veteran receivers is they let the draft play out and then see what teams didn't address needs that they had. And then you kind of can, I'm not saying pick your destination, but you've got a better idea who's in need, and you don't have to really jump at the first offer.
Another position group that has got a lot of big name players that are still on the open market is in the secondary. So you have Rasul Douglas, who is the number one still remaining free agent at cornerback. He'll be 30 years old. He played for Buffalo in 2024. Asante Samuel Jr., he's 25, still very young. He played for the Chargers. He's still on the open market. Mike Hilton, 31 years old, played for Cincinnati, former Steeler. He's on the open market. You keep going down, you find safeties are pretty much, they've got a couple safeties here in Justin Simmons, 31 years old, Julian Blackmon, 27. What do you think about the secondary core of free agents that are still available?
For a lot of those guys, it's going to be scheme fit. Like Mike Hilton's a slot corner, and he's got to find a place where they need a good slot guy, because he doesn't really play well outside. Asante Samuel is going to have to be a scheme fit, because if you want him playing a lot of press man, then he's not your guy. So it'll be interesting with those guys. And again, that's another thing, man. What needs do teams fill in the draft? Hey, we didn't get the slot corner we wanted. Let's kick the tires on Mike Hilton. I think that again, you'll see these post-draft signings.
The only other position I want to bring up is edge, like the edge pass rushers. There's just always seems to be like some veteran guys. They're just hanging on. What do these guys get paid like? So Zadarius Smith, he's still on the open market, 32 years old. Matthew Judon, 33 years old. If you keep going down the list, you got a couple other pass rushers that are still available. Oh, Von Miller at 36. What do you think about these pass rushers, Coach?
I think they're guys that a playoff team who sees them as a role player, who maybe Von Miller at this point in his career can get 15 to 20 snaps a game in pass rush situations. And he can put a little bit of heat on the quarterback now and again. But I don't think that if you want the role to be beyond that, I don't think for a lot of these guys that's what you're going to get. If you're Von Miller, though, that's fine. If I take a run at a Super Bowl, man. Hey, mate, do the Chiefs need an edge rusher? Because I'll go to Kansas City for a year and play 18 snaps a game and get paid and chase a ring.
Some of these guys also might wait around even in training camp and say, who gets hurt? Someone's going to get hurt, and who needs a guy? And then I'll be that guy that can come in, like you said, fill in. So we'll see. There's still a lot of players that are out there in free agency. Those are just the big name players, like I said, that were in the top 100 that are still available. We'll keep you up to speed on that as we progress closer to the NFL draft. The fifth topic here is a super polarizing player. We've talked about him before on this podcast, especially when you came back from the NFL scouting combine, and he didn't even test there. And that's Shedeur Sanders. I don't care what entity we're talking about, companies, whether it's Pro Football Focus, Pro Football Talk, here at Fans First Sports. No, it doesn't matter. Everyone has a different opinion of Shedeur Sanders. Some say this guy's a top 5 pick. He's going to go to the Browns. He's going to go to the Giants. Doesn't matter. And then there's some people that say he could be available at the very end of the first round. How in the hell is this guy's projection the range is so crazy? What are your thoughts, Coach?
Well, first of all, at the combine, when he took the podium, I mean, it felt like a rock star had entered the room. I mean, everybody gravitated over there. The media people were 10 deep at the podium. He, to his credit, I mean, he's grown up around this. He's been around this his whole life, handled it seamlessly. And he's got a presence about him. And whether that presence will translate to an NFL locker room or not will be very interesting. Some people will see what he brings as a distraction. Some people will see his personality as maybe too big for a guy who's never played a down in the NFL. But if he lands with the right team and he's in the right fit and he's with a coach who kind of knows how to harness all of that, then I think that he has a chance to be very successful. There's no question that he's extremely skilled, but he's got things he needs to work on. Like he doesn't get the ball out fast enough. He takes too many sacks. There are questions as to how fast does he process from the pocket. And a good coordinator and a good system will be able to do things to mitigate that early on. And if he's really lucky, he won't go to a place that wants to play him immediately. So because I think he needs a little bit of time to sit and learn the NFL game.
Okay, so let's take a look at the top. We'll do top 6. All right, top 6 teams in the NFL draft coming up. We have the Tennessee Titans 1, Cleveland Browns 2, New York Giants 3, New England 4, Jacksonville 5, and Raiders 6. Immediately, I take New England out. They've got Drake May. They don't need a quarterback. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence. They've got their quarterback. They're out. So that leaves Tennessee, Cleveland, the Giants, and Vegas. Which one of those teams would be the best fit for Shedeur Sanders, in your opinion?
Well, I'll tell you, I think he's going to Cleveland. I think the Browns are taking him at number 2. I really do.
You trust your buddy Stefanski to get it right with this guy?
If in fairness to Kevin Stefanski, look at who he's dealt with over the last couple of years, man. Nobody's had a worse quarterback situation than Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. They saddled him with an over-the-hill Deshaun Watson, or not over-the-hill necessarily, but a Deshaun Watson not playing good football, and then they made him play because they paid him $240 million, and they said he's not going to sit the bench. And then he got injured, and they played a host of backup quarterbacks and were somehow, not this past year, but 2 years ago, able to win football games with those guys. I think Kevin Stefanski would see in Shedeur Sanders an opportunity to get this guy in and from day one, groom him in Cleveland's system. I know Kevin Stefanski is really high on his offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees, and he really feels like that he believes that guy is going to be an NFL head coach someday. And I think that they would think that they could get it right with him. If they pass on Shedeur Sanders, then they're going into the season, they're going to play Kenny Pickett. And I don't think they want to do that. Or they're going to wait around for maybe Jackson Dart in round 2 if he's even there. It just feels like if you're Cleveland, that's too much of a risk to pass on Sanders.
If you were a head coach, would you take the baggage that comes with Shedeur Sanders and make him your selection?
I would like to believe that I could trust myself to handle that I wouldn't let him become bigger than what we're trying to do. Again, managing everything that comes with Shedeur Sanders will be integral to his success.
All right, it's a good transition. A guy that knows all about the expectations of being a number 1 overall draft pick. Our player profile is a guy that just signed with the New York Giants. I don't know how many teams he's played for yet. I think this might be his 5th team. It's none other than Jameis Winston. Coach, you want to talk about Jameis Winston, who I think has a future in some type of television realm. Whenever he does decide to call it a career, he's fantastic. What's your thoughts on Jameis?
Well, I'll refer back to Coach Stefanski. Talking to him, he raved about Jameis Winston and said that there's few better teammates that he's ever come across in all of his time in and around football, and just said that he is genuinely one of the most likable human beings. And the thing about Jameis Winston is, even though he's maddening, that he'll throw this horrendous interception or he'll make this awful decision, that it's impossible to get mad at the guy. Simply because of the way that he carries himself. Now, that hasn't always translated, obviously, to NFL success. And at the end of the day, he was the number 1 overall pick and the Heisman Trophy winner, and his career has probably not lived up to those lofty expectations. But he's still getting paid, man. He's still finding jobs and carving out a niche for himself in the league. And it's just one of those guys you want to root for, man. Like you watch him at the podium, and you're like, how do you not smile, man? I don't know if I'd want him as the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I'm happy for the guy.
When he, as a coach, how do you get mad at someone that stands in front of the media and says, "Dear Lord, save me from these pick sixes"? How can you be mad at that? How can you possibly be like, I'm so pissed that he keeps turning the ball over and he's doing it in that variety, pick sixes, points to the other team. But then he stands up there and asks the Lord, Jesus, to prevent him from throwing pick sixes.
All you can say is amen. Amen.
He is the gift that keeps on giving, and he's going to do
That's
so
right.
for the New York Giants, and we'll see what happens there. But, Coach, it's been a good show. I want to give you the opportunity to plug your Call Sheet Daily podcast. Go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, man, we've had some great guests on lately, and I got a couple good ones coming up. Phil Longo, head football coach at Sam Houston State University, former offensive coordinator at North Carolina, Wisconsin. He coached Drake May, coached Sam Howell. He's going to come on later this week, talk about the air raid passing system, which is something that, a lot of people have heard that the air raid, but I don't know if they know what it is, what it means. Paul Gunther, longtime DC for the Bengals and the Raiders. He'll be on the show. If not this week, then next week. So we're getting some really good guests on.
That's awesome. Make sure you check it out wherever you get your podcast, the Call Sheet Daily. Coach, as always, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.